these things take a few minutes
I
to.
don't know why it does that all the time.
Well, it's because it has to configure to your settings. So do you want to review a note, or do you want to review how to write a note, or a bit of both?
Oh, we could do a little bit of both, but you could review my note and see, because I think I did too much.
Yeah, why don't you find something that you wrote? We can look at it together. That'd be good. And then there's I think I showed you in class. It's called the Epic Playground, and so you can kind of experiment there. Not a lot of people use it. I think it should be used. I love using it because it helps me like work out stuff that I'm thinking. That way it's not binding if I write it. You know what I mean? You always have the option of adding addendums in Epic. So like if you made a mistake or like you missed something, you can add or take away. But in the Epic Playground, you get an opportunity to like you can write whatever the heck you want and then like experiment a little bit with different boxes and areas and not get in trouble.
Okay.
Because what it does is it resets after 24 hours or something like that. You know, realizing this now, I should have, you know what I could have done was I could have just have gone on under my name and I could have looked up your notes.
Could have.
I didn't think about that. Jonathan.
So slow.
Let's kind of go, we're gonna get there. Yeah, so, well, how about this before we kind of get in there? I think Lorraine's right. You don't have to do it don't write it like a verbatim. I think what you could do is, if you want to frame it, you know, use yourself in that third person, like the chaplain. I'm sure you do something similar with like your counseling notes. So like the chaplain approached the patient for initial visit or follow-up visit. And then after that, I think that's where there's an opportunity to add some of the details that are pertinent to your visit. So.
Oh no. Like this one.
Okay, yeah, you want to open it up? All right, so you wrote Chaplain Coco visits this patient. When the chaplain knocked on the door, the patient was looking up at the ceiling while counting. The chaplain introduced herself. The patient smiled and said that he was trying to guess how many squares from the light above him, but expressed that he was relaxing. The patient expressed that he has a strong family support as he is looking forward to seeing his grandson, and hopefully they will pay a visit with him soon. this chaplain supported this. All right, then you wrote, this chaplain asked the patient how his day was. The patient stated that he was okay, but waiting for the doctor. He expressed that he loves painting and being outdoors. The chaplain offered a word of encouragement and hope. You know, the patient was pleased, but grateful that spiritual care visited him. The patient had a sense of humor as he was sharing his history when he was working. The chaplain asked the patient if there's anything that the chaplain can do for his spiritual needs at the moment. The patient shared that someone could talk with him. The chaplain uses a listening ear and shares with him about spiritual care and helps him with the needs that he may have. The patient then added, "I'm glad you perked me up. I needed it. I was tired of looking at the wall." The patient laughed as this chaplain chuckled. The chaplain offered a blessing and a listening ear, including a knitted cross and spiritual care contact information. The patient enjoyed the knitted cross. He was smiling when reading the prayer. Spiritual care will continue as needed or upon request. All right. So you have some really good elements in this. It might be a little bit longer than it needs to be,
Okay.
but you have some good elements. And actually, I would actually refer you back to this. I don't know if you remember I gave you these, the fact model. Again, this is not something that I'm as well versed in as like say like Brian or whatever, but a nice kind of concise spiritual assessment model can be a really helpful use of like your writing time. So you grabbed a lot of elements of this here. So for example, you did explore faith with him, right? Now active usually is like, is their faith or their community, is it availability, accessibility, is it applicable to their lives? So for example, like, you know, down here, I think you asked something related to, spiritual needs at the moment. So you shared that someone could talk to him. So that means like he would appreciate like follow-ups. Is that what you're indicating here?
He just wants someone to talk to him. Yeah, and pretty much brought it up a routine and
Okay.
I guess.
Did he share at all like what his like faith background was, or did you guys get into that, or did you just kind of prompt him at a point in the conversation and ask if there was any spiritual needs?
I think I did. I think he's Catholic though.
Yeah, I mean, we can look it up here. Yeah, Catholic, right? That's the initial kind of, you know. So, sorry. Where we go? What happened?
Oh, that one, she don't like people that did her. I'll click her. I'm like, oh no, not her.
This is another quick way to look up your notes or notes from your colleagues. Go to notes here, chart review.
Oh, okay.
Select pastoral care.
Oh.
There you go. You got yours, Ken's. Oh, apparently I visited this person back in 2021. Let's see what I wrote. All right, here we go. Chaplain made initial contact with the patient. So actually, this is something I do often. Chaplain made initial contact with this patient, attempted to establish a relation of support and introduce spiritual care services. Patient conveyed that he was in a great deal of pain, did not want to talk at this time, and then respected his wishes, offered words of support, and spiritual care will continue as needed. I think if you can like try to keep things
short,
condensed, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to like, I think it's great that you would want to like tell his story and be like, he was staring at this and like he was really bored, you know, that kind of stuff. But if I was a doctor and I was reading that, I'd be like, that's not really pertinent. I think what you want to do is, if you kind of go back to here, like if you can think about like, you know, in terms of your conversation. So sometimes, like we were saying earlier, the entry point is often it's not always a spiritual thing. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. It can be the dogs, it can be looking at the ceiling tiles and boredom, right? Like, and we've been doing a lot of like with Empathy Lab, like that subgrouping, like, oh, can you tell me a bit about your boredom, having to be here, you know, that kind of thing. So if you can use that if you can use some kind of observational thing as an entry point, right? Then you can start kind of getting into like just how are they coping with everything that they're here because he's on the telemetry unit, so there's probably something with his heart,
Mhm.
right? Right, so maybe he offers that up, what brings you here? What's going on, you can ask some of those kind of just open-ended questions to get him talking, right? And then, you can find out kind of like what his support system is, how is he coping? Like, that's where kind of the A would fall in, like, what is like your support system? Like, what do you have accessible to you? Okay? And then, how are you coping? How is this for you? You're bored, the boredom of being here. What does that mean to you? You talk about a very active person. It's really hard. So you can kind of join them in that, that feeling. Because I think you grab you grab a lot of elements of these things here. But it could be shortened, more like a term I've heard used is an economy of words, right? Just, being more concise, right? You don't have to write the full novel kind of thing. So I would say, if it was me, and I was giving you some feedback, if we were writing together, I would say that Chaplin made is this a follow-up or an initial visit?
Initial, I think.
Yeah, so Chaplin made an initial visit with this patient. Okay, the patient engaged in conversation with the chaplain, shared about why he was here in the hospital, expressed his feelings of boredom. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some other stuff that came up, like uncertainty, not knowing, what's going on, or waiting for a test. And then you could say that, that you could comment on how he's coping and handling his situation and circumstance. Patient has, is feeling, again, you had the visit, not me, so, I don't want to,
Okay.
assume he was feeling things. You could put something that, let's see, I'm trying to look at your words here. Patient expressed that he has strong family support. Like, this is a really good statement here. Patient expressed that he has strong family support. He's looking forward to seeing them. So I would say, like, if you say, like, patient made initial visit, shared about his, why he's here in the hospital. Sometimes I'm big on, if they can convey what it is and they can articulate it, you can record that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, patient's here because he has congestive heart failure and he's receiving tests or waiting for fluid to be, removed, that kind of thing. So if they convey that kind of stuff, I feel like that's okay. You can put that in there.
Okay.
And then you can say, patient, patient, you can share like how they're coping, how they're handling their stay. Patient is coping well, express that he's got a lot of support. He has a strong faith, he has strong faith, believes that God is there with him, that kind of thing. And then your treatment plan can be something pretty simple of, like, the chaplain offered the knitted cross and a prayer. Patient also conveyed that he would like follow-up visits from spiritual care, and we'll mark him for follow-up, that kind of thing. So we can go here. Let's actually go to, please tell me if this is helpful or not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna experiment a little bit here. Where's your note? leave it as is, it's fine, you didn't do anything egregious. All right, so right in here, IP. SC 0 1, and then the password right, train, all lowercase, TRAIN. This is not set up like you have it set up at Kenmore, so we'll just open it like as if we were just like opening from the house census. We'll go to Ron ZZV Master. These are all made up names, obviously.
I see.
107. He's in room 107. I thought he's only 31. Okay, we're gonna go over here. See, the setup is similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Create a note. Okay, so I took the note that you wrote and I'm pasting it in here. So, all right, now let's take a moment, look at what you wrote, think about, kind of visualize, if you will, how you would want to try to make this a little bit more concise based on your experience with him. Can you do that? Does that help, looking at that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so do that, and then we'll I think it's a good element to keep. You know, one of the things you can do, I don't mean to like flood your
Yeah,
brain,
okay.
but if you want to convey something like this, where like patient stated that he was okay but waiting for the doctor, like
Mhm.
that's a thing, right? Having to wait.
Mhm.
Patient reflected on waiting, but here you wrote he loves painting, being outdoors. Chaplain offered words of encouragement, hope. I would say something like, you know, patient. If you're tying it to this, you say patient. Talked about waiting and being patient, and the difficulty of that because he's very active outside, something like that.
Something like that, instead of like saying
Yeah.
what you like doing.
Mm-hmm. Did he happen to share why he was there?
His heart.
Okay. Yeah, because I also want to, if I was you, like I'd want to be able to, one of the things I always want to convey is like, when I'm writing my notes, is that in terms of, we are still engaged, we are engaging with the reasons they're here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're here because they have heart problem, whatever the heart problem might be, AFib, congestive heart failure, had a mild heart attack, stroke, whatever. So if you can write that and can capture that in there, I think that's an important thing,
Okay.
right? So
it's not like I'm not trying to go over the doctors and saying that he has, even though he has a diagnosis of it.
yeah, I think as long as they're conveying to you why, giving you their understanding of why they're here, I think that's all fair. Yeah, you're not being the doctor. You're not diagnosing them with congestive heart failure. You're just merely, as a chaplain, you're commenting on the fact that the two of you were talking about that because that was important to him or her. Does that make sense? See the differentiation? Because when I write a note, like I will often say, like, we talked about the reason they're here in the hospital. The patient shared about having congestive heart failure and the myriad of challenges it's bringing to his life. Something like that, right? And I think it's a way of capturing that we talked about it, that I'm aware of it. They acknowledged it. I'm aware of it, and I just want to let the staff know that we are, that's something that he's processing in a different way with me, as the chaplain. Right, and so then when I start to do that, like when we start to convey these things, right, then I can start to say, like, okay, well, how are you coping, right? What is your faith or your belief system or your value system, like your meaning making center, like how does that factor in and how does that help you cope and deal with what you're going through? And is it something you can draw from as you're going through this? And then, in terms of coming up with a plan, it can be something as simple as we'll follow up as needed, that kind of thing, or regular visits, communion, spiritual care, or spiritual, sacramental anointing, kind of a Bible, whatever it might be. Or they could say, like, I don't have any spiritual needs, but spiritual care will continue to be available as needed, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I almost want you to kind of, I'm not trying to like confuse you or throw you off or anything. Like I said, I think you have some really good elements in this note. I think you just need to figure out like your sequencing of how you want to state it all, and just and make it a little bit more concise, right? Because if you were like I said, if you were writing to a doctor, what would you want the doctor to know, or the nurse, or the social worker, like something that is pertinent to here in the moment, right? Try to stay in the moment, right? That's always kind of what the chaplains do.
Yeah. Okay.
Would rewriting it right now be more helpful than having to try to reconfigure it all?
Oh,
Yeah, I was trying to experiment a little bit with this.
Yeah.
Take here, let's do this then. How about this? Let's try to reconstruct it the best we can. It's okay if I delete this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. We'll keep that.
Yeah, we'll keep it in there.
We'll keep that down.
Yeah.
All right. So write something like, the chaplain made an initial visit with this patient. Something like that. Start off that way. That's a good way to.
Or just say chaplain call with it?
Yeah, you can write your name. It's fine. I don't typically write my name, but you're fine. It's not.
Oh, could they say it? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not gonna say don't do it, but it's not. I don't think most of our chaplains do it.
Oh, I thought.
All right.
No, she just say chat.
Yeah.
She abbreviated.
There are people who do sign their names at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You can write like Chaplain Jonathan Moran at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it that way too. It kind of varies. It's actually one of the things that we're trying to figure out as a system, like more of a standardized process. But for now, I would probably just go with the chaplain made an initial visit with the patient. No abbreviations. Gotta.
Oh, because I saw people doing that.
Nope, can't do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay.
Because PT can also mean like physical therapy, things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
haven't seen him. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I used to do that too, but I got away from that a few years ago where I write it all out now. No abbreviations. Also, it looks more professional to write it out. So, okay, so you made the initial visit. You're making your visit with this gentleman. How would you like to convey, like, how that entry point? Like, what was it that you kind of, that initial kind of connection you made with him? Like, how would you like to try to convey that?
He was bored.
Right, so he was staring at the ceiling. He was very bored.
He was very bored.
Okay, so how about, again, this is a set of verbiage I like to use. You're free to use it if you like. Did you or did you not have a conversation with him?
I did have a conversation with him.
Okay, so I would say something like so the chaplain made initial contact with his patient. This chaplain, or I'm sorry, oh my gosh, I cannot think. My brain hurts. My brain's not working right now. You could write something like, the chaplain made initial visit with this patient. The patient and this chaplain engaged in a conversation together. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Or the chaplain initiated a conversation with this patient,
Just leave it like that?
Yeah. Engage in a conversation. Period. Yeah. Okay, so now I would say, what was your conversation about?
He did talk about his work, but he was like joking around, like he engaged, like he was laughing, like his joke, and then he turned around and said, "Oh, my heart," because I kind of switched the conversation to like, what's really going on. So like, what brought you in this hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that it's like.
Yeah, so you asked them the question, what brings you here to the hospital? And you shared that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would maybe start it by saying, like, engage in the conversation. The patient shared about his need for care in the hospital related to his heart condition or congestive heart failure, or what was it? Remember?
Heart condition. Yeah, heart condition. He didn't fail. Yeah, heart condition.
Okay, and then period. All right, and here's where you can start getting into some more of this stuff. Okay, you talked about his boredom. You could say chaplain and this chaplain, or this writer, and the.
Can I say this writer?
Yeah.
Because I used to say it all the time at my job.
I do that a lot at this
okay.
writer. Yeah, this writer and the patient engaged in his discussed his feelings of boredom. Anything from like boredom and fear and apathy, ambivalence. You kind of fill it in, right? Difficulty of waiting, right? You could write. We talked about boredom and the difficulty of waiting because he's such an active guy. Something to that effect. Or maybe a better word for guy would be he's such an active individual.
Oh, okay.
Sounds a little more, I don't know, a little more formal, I guess.
Who like nature? He like nature. But I don't want to say all that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know why I was reaching for your hand.
No, it's okay.
I think my inclination was to do the same thing. I wanted to fix it for you.
I'm about to fix it, and this, like, so I was like thinking of, he is an active individual, but also who likes nature. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so then you put period,
Mhm.
and then you can write something like, the patient shared that he loves to be outside in nature, and being indoors is very difficult for him. Something like that. If that's something important you wanna share.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of.
It's not.
No. Because you could tie this in, finish that part.
I use Word document. When I take my notes and stuff, I use Word document.
That's okay. Yeah. Things help you kind of redo sentence structure, things like that. That's fine. I do something similar actually. Okay, so patient discusses boredom, difficult waiting because he's an active individual. He loves being outside in nature. Being in the hospital is difficult for him. Instead of but, I heard and. Yeah, and being in the hospital is difficult for him. Then you can write something like, his chaplain asked how he was coping, and coping and handling a situation, and the patient conveyed. Now, what do you convey?
He. How much his grandkids is coming?
Huh?
His family.
Ask how he's coping, but like, how is he coping with his, because this is like a good question to ask in the room with the patients, like, just, how are you coping? How are you handling this? So it's like something to maybe think about for future visits.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have the answer right now, that's okay. But just, I think it's always important to maybe ask, just like, how are you coping, right? Because that's part of the C there. Did you ask him how he was coping, how he was handling it?
I think I did. Yeah, I did. I think I did ask how he was coping.
I mean, for our purposes here, you can just write like, writer asked how the patient was coping, and the patient expressed that he was, nervous, or expressed that he was happy, or calm, feeling calm, or you can write whatever you feel for the sake of our moment together, this time together. Feeling calm and content. Okay. All right. So then, okay. So you are at the patient loved being outside in nature, being in the hospital is difficult for him. Yeah. Writer asked the patient how he was coping, and patient expressed he was feeling calm and content. Now you can move to more of a, when you're having these kinds of conversations, he's feeling calm and content, even though he's here in the hospital. And here's where you can write something that patient draws strength from his family support and faith. Faith and family support, something like that. And his faith too, sounds like.
Yeah.
Draws strength from his family support and faith, which helps him cope. Something like that. Okay. And here's where now you can write something to the effect of just kind of like what your intervention was. Right, this writer offered a listening ear, and affirmed his expressed feelings, something like that, or joined him in his expressed feelings. Joining him in his
Express feeling right now.
yeah, expressed feelings, period. And this writer offered presence of support throughout the visit and offered a prayer that was meaningful to him. I don't know, you know your sentence structure better than I know mine. You know yours,
No.
right? So, and then you can write that that you offered a what was it, the cross thing and a prayer.
Yeah, I did offer him a officer and did a cross.
Yeah, prayer and then cross.
Yeah. And there, I'm always given the information sheet from the spiritual department.
Yeah, write that too.
Contact information. They want us to like pass that on, so I always attach it. I always do it. So they'll say that, oh, the spiritual care didn't came visit. So I'm already leaving them with something.
Mm-hmm. You can also write, the patient conveyed that he would like, I don't know, was it routine spiritual care visits, or would like a follow-up visits while he's here, something like that, right? That's something he conveyed to you. Okay. You should see all the red squiggles when I write. I got your spell check, right?
Yes.
Alright, so spiritual care will continue as needed or upon request. Okay. So let's look at this together again. Okay, so the chaplain made an initial visit with the patient. Patient and chaplain engaged in conversation. Patient shared about his need for care in the hospital related to his heart condition. This writer and the patient discussed his boredom and difficulty of waiting because he's such an active individual. Patient shared that he loves to be outside in nature, and being in the hospital is difficult for him. This writer asked how the patient was coping, and the patient expressed that he was feeling calm and content. He draws from strength from his family, support, and faith, which helps him cope. This writer offered a listening ear, joined him in his expressed feelings. This writer offered prayer and knitted cross, spiritual care contact and spiritual care contact information. The patient conveyed that he would like a follow-up visit from spiritual care department during his stay or something like that. You can read that. All right, so
But don't supposed to be shorter than that though?
no, this is good actually. This is, I think, you can have things that are much shorter than this, but this is actually pretty good. I think this is actually pretty concise. You also captured something specific about like how difficult it is for him being here because he likes to be outside and just the boredom and waiting. Like you captured that, okay? But you didn't have to go into like the details of like he was staring at the ceiling and that kind of stuff.
I was being visual, but
no. That's really good for a verbatim.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much for a progress note.
Yeah.
Also, you're also conveying more of a like a more kind of professional, clinical kind of posture when you're writing it in this manner, opposed to the other one where it's maybe just a little more. It's a little looser, a little more informal. You know, I'm not saying I never want us to have to give up our relational nature as chaplains, but I think as in terms of clinical charting individuals, we need to have a certain like professionality. Kind of like if you're writing in like one of your mental health notes, right? Right, you want it to look professional. You want it to be you want it to be concise.
Yeah, they want us to be detailed.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
it's a little bit different.
It's a little different.
It's a little bit different. I think details are important when it's related to something that, like, specifically they're going through. So, for example, I use this one relationship I had, for example, as an example all the time. It was a gentleman who was he was here because he had a cardiac arrest. He ended up having a trach. His wife kept him going for all this time. And so those visits required me to be a little more detailed in terms of how, like, what was making her just make the decisions that she was making, right? So I wanted to be mindful of what she was saying and write more specific details, maybe comment a little bit on her relationship with her husband and why she feels so obligated to keep, you know what I mean? Things like that. Like the detail right there, like being out in nature, things like that. That's a good detail. That's a good detail, and I think it shares a story, and it also conveys that being in the hospital is not easy for him. But you engaged him, you talked with him, you offered him prayer, you helped him kind of tap into his resources, kind of take inventory, faith and family. That's usually the big ones for people. Often, not everybody, but it's I think a big one. You commented on that. You offered prayer. You gave him the cross. You gave him more information on how to contact. He did convey you like follow-up visits, so you're capturing all that. So like this is a good way to just to get some of the more concise details, and convey that you made that connection with him. You talked about faith, accessibility, and active. That may be one thing we maybe left a little lacking there, but coping and more or less a treatment plan there. So, if someone shares with you like, active could count towards family. So you talked about family, like he has his family, they're coming to visit, that kind of thing. So
yeah, availability. His family do show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you could even write somewhere in here, because again, it draws strength from his support from his family. You could split this, and you could write patient draws strength from family support, is eager to have his family visit today, something like that. We don't have to change it right now.
Okay.
And then period, and then it said patient also draws strength from his faith, which also helps him cope.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just try to think in those kind of terms, like, again, like what's their meaning center, their faith, how is it accessible to them, and how are they coping, how are they handling their situation. You may not have the conversation in this order, but you can glean elements from it and look. Always look for that kind of entry point. The boredom was the entry point, right? You knocked on the door, you walked in, staring at the ceiling, right? And jumped into like, oh, I'm so bored, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's kind of the art and the nuance of writing these things, and it's okay if you don't have it right away. Like I said, I think what you wrote is fine, but you can definitely be a bit more concise. I hope something like this is helpful to you.
Yeah. I wonder, can I use this as a guidance, like the notes that we had created? I wanted to see if I can just look at it as a guidance.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, for the longest time, I kept a separate document sheet of like how I wanted to write intros and outro, like how I want to start it, how I want to end it, and like you even learn how to use certain phrases, repeat certain phrases. So I would encourage you, if like that's helpful to you, have a separate document that helps you kind of frame your note. I've been doing this so long, I don't need to, because I already have it in my brain, I already know exactly what I'm gonna write most of the time, so. And then just fill it in with the details
Yeah.
that are important,
Yeah.
so. But, no cutting and pasting, you say.
No. I just need a.
Or I would say, if you rework the note in like a Word document, right? And you use the Copilot,
Mhm.
Copilot to help you fix certain little structural things.
Mhm.
Yeah, take that and help you guide you to put it in there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. We can revisit this and see if it's useful. We can revisit this and we can see how you're doing going forward if you like.
Yeah.
I realize we don't give like, we're not doing like full on like writing lab kind of stuff.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like use this as a guidance.
Mhm.
So it's not like a copy and paste, like, it's not the same story per person. Just use it as a guidance, like the patient made an initial visit, or this patient made a follow visit with this, you know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
something like a little guidance. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can, if you wanted to, because this is the Epic Playground, you can do what you want. You want to take this note here, oops,
Mhm.
and email it to yourself,
Yes.
and then oh, Lord. Stay signed out. Alright, you gotta put in your email and all that junk.
Right. Email here.
Yeah. At chsbuffalo.org. Got the at.
Oh.
Okay, password. Yes. Okay, now just go up to your email there and, or you can, actually, you know what, you can put it right into a Word document. Do you use the OneDrive here?
Okay.
Alright, well then just do email. Click on the little boxes down there. Right,
This one?
yeah, right there, yep. And then go to Outlook.
I try to use Word document here. It's confusing. It's if I bought my laptop for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just go to new mail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have any names in it, so you're good.
Mm.
Yeah. If a structure like this just helps you,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of reduplicate the pattern and then just you fill in the details that are pertinent to the patient themselves, not. Okay? Alright, I think we're at our time boundary.
Yes.
Did you go through?
Mm-hmm. Alright.
Alright, I'm gonna sign you out. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanna make sure I just not go overboard, but at the same time I wanna like miss anything.
Yeah.
Just in case if they ask like.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you also remember is, you know, these are legal binding documents. I have been, I think I've told you before, my notes have been taken to part of like deposition,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So yeah, I have to be very mindful of what I write. So sometimes like, I'm not gonna say like, I think if there's some strategic ambiguity with some of the words, it's more to your benefit, right? So, like, you know, if you want to convey things that are pertinent to the patient, right? And you can kind of capture it in like a more kind of concise, summarized statement, like in maybe like 2 or 3 words. I would go for that. You know what I mean? Just to help yourself out, right? And make it all third person and objective, right? It's all objective, no subjectivity. Like, don't comment on how you feel about it.
Oh no.
I know you wouldn't, but I'm just saying it's one of those things that, like, as long as you're being objective and you are doing this kind of, I always say you're advocating for understanding, you're a chaplain, you want the team to understand this person better. That's kind of, I think, what the notes can accomplish, All right.
Take this.
All right. I expect you to be a all-star writer by the time you've done all this. Actually, can I make a copy of that? Because I think that's my
Yes.
last copy of it.